Cool. All right, everybody. We're ready to do it. Jacob, you want to start off with a round of introductions?
Sure. Yeah, hey everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name's Jacob. I'm a founder of Level. Yeah, I'm super excited that you guys carved out some time to join us. Yeah, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Derek.
Cool. I'm Derek Schultz. I'm an account executive here at Level. If anybody has any questions about product or pricing, I'm always available. I'm also going to moderate the Q&A today. So if anybody's got any questions, I'll see if we can interject those. But otherwise, I will wait till the end of this session and we'll review those. We usually spend a lot of time on the Q&A. So we'll do our best not to miss anything. But go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, my name is Jason, one of the founders as well. Excited to show you this, and we love releasing new features and getting more functionality into the platform and sharing that with you and seeing your excitement as well. So, yeah, let us know what you want to see, and we're excited to dive into log monitoring. This is going to be really valuable, I feel like, to you in your use of Level.
All right. Quentin, how about you?
Hey, yeah, hi guys. My name's Quentin. I do support, so you'll see me here in the support channels if you ever hit up support. And then I'm also the DevOps guy, so keeping everything up and running for you guys.
All right. Well, let me just hop into a quick agenda. Over the next 25 to 30 minutes, we're going to dive into a new feature that we just rolled out earlier this month, event log monitoring. So we'll kind of walk through the core functionality, and then we'll run through a demo, and then wrap up with a quick look of what's coming next in Level, along with a Q&A. So with that all said, let's go ahead and get started. What is event log monitoring? So on May 8th, we released a new monitor type in Level for event logs. And this really lets you monitor anything in the Windows event log and alert on it in real time without writing any scripts. So you could do this previously, but you had to do scripting. So with this, you can just pick whatever event type you're looking for, like a failed login or a disk warning or service crash, and Level can handle the rest. When that event is detected in the logs, we'll trigger alerts, and you can even run automation remediations to help remediate that issue. So it's pretty simple to configure and get set up. You just pick the log, enter the event ID, and you're done. There's no PowerShell or no parsing, no custom agents, anything like that. So why does this matter? Well, in Windows, event logs are incredibly powerful, but they're often underused. And so there's a lot of high value data already flowing through the event log, like the failed login attempts or backup failures or disk issues or even malware detections. And until now, without scripting, there really hasn't been an easy way to turn that information into actionable alerts on your side without, like I said, scripting. And so this is the key. No scripting needed. You can just very quickly link automations directly to monitors so the remediation can kick off as soon as the issue happens. So with that, let's go ahead and jump straight into a demo here. Can you guys see my browser real fast? I switched screens, so I just want to make sure everybody can see that.
Right.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and jump over to policies. And we'll start with, I think what I'll do here, sorry about that, I accidentally searched for something. I'm going to start with our security policy. And some of this, like this particular Windows failed login and this admin user, these are running scripts. And so we can now replace these with native detection. So let's do that. We'll go failed login attempts. And this is going to be that new event log type. And this is your severity. So how important is this? So I'm going to say critical if we have this. And in this case, the ID is 4625. And the log name we're looking for is security. Source is optional. I could specify this, but I won't. I'll just leave it blank here. And this is an informational alert is the level. And I think I want to know if this happens maybe 3 times. So if there's a failed login on a device 3 times within maybe within an hour, then I want to know about this. And we can turn on auto resolve if we want that to close itself if there's not failed logins the next hour. And then do we want this to go to our ticketing system, or maybe we want to fire an automation to lock the account? So you can make those decisions. We'll go ahead and add this. And now we see that new event log type there. And I'm actually going to go ahead and delete the previous monitors that we had here for failed logins, because we don't need those now. So we got that one. And I think there was one more. Yeah, failed login attempts. No, that looks like that's it. All right, cool. So now this is going to get your classic brute force attempt or credential spray detection. You can combine this with automations to block the IP, lock the account, or alert admins. So we have that. Let's do another. And this one we'll do account lockout. So this is going to fire anytime a user account is locked. And this can be done with group policy. If there's so many repeated failed logins, you can automatically lock it. But this is a useful alert to signal like a sign that an account maybe has been compromised or misconfigured. So again, event log, this is going to be an informational alert. 4740, and you don't need to remember all these IDs. We're going to be uploading this on YouTube after, so you can watch that, but we'll also have all of these in our library, so you'll be able to import them into your account. This is another security log, and this is going to be informational as well. And for this, I just want to know immediately if an account's been locked, and we'll go ahead and add that as well. And I don't think I want this to, I'll fire this as a warning, I guess, as well. All right, next, I'm going to do a new admin user has been added. Whoops, if I could type here. So this is really good for detecting like privilege escalation, or really even good for compliance standpoint. Just you want an immediate alert if there's a new admin on a device. And the ID for that is 4732. This is also on the security log, and this is also an informational alert. And yeah, I'm going to leave everything else as default. So now we know immediately when a new admin is added. Another good one here that this is really common with attackers, and that would be clearing out the event log. So we will add an entry for that as well here. And this is going to be 1102. Also our security log, and this is an informational. And in my experience, generally attackers are going to clear the logs to try to cover their tracks. And this will get you an alert the second that that happens. Again, you could leverage automations to isolate that device or lock it out further. All right, so now we've kind of hit the ground running. You guys understand the basics. We've got some security event logs that we're monitoring. Let's move on and do some system related things, some hardware monitoring as well. And I think for this, I'll put it in my global policy, but you might want to create a dedicated policy for these kinds of alerts. So the first I'm going to do here is if there's a disk IO error of some type, and I'll fire this as a warning. And there's actually several events here that are related to disk 7, 11, and 51. And these are all going to come from the system log. And the source here is disk. I'm going to specify that. And these are errors. And so this is essentially going to hopefully indicate if disks are failing or there's controller problems. And this is really a good idea for being a little proactive with replacement. If there's a bunch of IO errors or alerts, this is a sign that you might have an issue. So we'll go ahead and add that. Next, this might be a little noisy, but it's up to you. But if there's a BSOD or unexpected shutdown of a device, it can sometimes be useful to know that as well. So I'll fire this as a informational, just so I'm aware that something's happening here. So again, the system, I'm not going to give a source here, and the level is critical. Next, another good one is if a core service crashes unexpectedly. So core services in Windows are things like DNS, DHCP, uh, some AV services are also critical. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to call this critical service crash. And we'll do event log, fire this as a warning. And this is 7031. And the source here is the system log. And this is an error as well. Okay, so now we have some security checks going. We have some system and hardware monitoring. I'll give just a couple more examples to kind of help drive this home. So another good one here, I'm going to go back to our security policy because it's going to kind of fit more into this. And for those that are using Windows Defender, there's actually an event log entry for when Windows Defender detects a threat or malware. So we'll fire this as a critical as well. And this is 1116. And regardless of the AV product you're using, so you're using SentinelOne or CrowdStrike, they're going to fire some type of event log entry. So you could likely alert for that as well. In this case, I am not going to type this log name, so I'm going to copy and paste it over here. It's really long. And then the level here is warning. Okay, so now anytime Windows Defender detects some type of threat or malware, will immediately fire an alert. Again, you should be able to replicate that with other AV products as well. This one, again, might be a little noisy, but I'm going to show it just for compliance reasons. If you're running in a really secure environment, you might be more concerned with this. You might not want to apply this globally to all your devices. So you might want to move it into like a premium monitoring group or something like that. But if new software is installed, there's actually event log entries fired for that. They're going to be very noisy if your users are installing a lot of software, but in general, users shouldn't have admin rights or don't have admin rights to their devices. So new software installs should be somewhat rare. So in this case, the ID 11707, the log name is application, and this is just a informational alert here. And I'm not going to send this to a ticketing system or anything because that, again, might get noisy there. All right, so we've kind of covered the basics here. I've shown you what you can do with this. Let me show just a couple other use cases that I'll save you the time of manually adding these, but other things you might want to look for if firewall rules change. There's event log entry IDs for that. If the system time changes, or if drivers fail to load, or local accounts are created, or scheduled tasks are created, all of these things you can create policies and have event log monitors for them. You can stack them together, tie them together based on severity, whatever makes sense for you here. I'm sure one of the questions is going to be, what about Mac OS and Linux? And yeah, I definitely hear you. We're working on adding logging for log monitoring support for both Mac and Linux, and we're already in the early planning phases, and so hopefully we'll have more to share on that very soon. Another question that I'm sure will be asked is, can I view the logs somewhere in Level rather than just alert on them? And right now you can only alert on specific log entries, but we're also working on a way to view event logs right within Level. And that's already in development, so it will be coming really soon in a future release. Speaking of what else is coming soon, I'll just touch on that as well. So quick sneak peek of what's coming next. We're working right now on the ability to write to custom fields from scripts, and that will be coming very soon. as well as continuing to add more automation triggers and actions. And major UI improvements are coming. That includes dark mode, saved views, custom fields and device listing, and a bunch of other quality of life improvements. And with all of that, let's go ahead and turn it over to you guys for question and answer.
Yep. First question from Casey. You have to include the correct log name, or is that just informational to help later?
Great question. Let me pull that back up here so we can all see what she's talking about. So log name is going to be required, but source and level is optional. So you don't have to include those, but log name is going to be required.
Wait. Thank you very much. And Terry also has a question. Does it have access to other event logs outside of application security and systems, such as Hyper-V logs? I guess you just answered that, but what is the proper path structure?
Yes, so it would have access to other event logs. What you want to do is just within Windows, if you pull up the event log manager, um, or event log viewer, you should be able to see the exact log source that we use, and you can just copy and paste that in here, and that should work. If not, just reach out to support, and we can help you find the correct log name or target there. And oh, there we go. So we can also see Quentin went and did some feld logins for me, and so we can see that feld login alert did fire from the event log. So we had 4 failed login attempts in the last hour on this device.
Thank you, Quinn. One more question. If this is from Chad, if you use automation to monitor changes, but also use automation to make a change, will it recognize and still trigger?
If you use automation to monitor,
Yeah, like if
interesting.
monitor changes, but also use automation to make a change. That one might need to. Jacob, do you understand what he's trying to say there?
Got you. So monitors are distinctly separate from automation. So you would use monitor to detect if certain software is not present, and then you could trigger a remediation to install that software. So if Chrome is missing, then trigger the automation to install Chrome. Um, that would be the approach that I would use to like handle pushing software. But I might be misunderstanding. So if you if you want to provide some more information, happy to dive into that. On these, so Terry said, is there an easy way to view what's resolved or auto-resolved? Um, and that's going to be just the same as it is currently. So you'll be able to view the alerts, the data associated with the alerts that we pulled from the logs. And then if I were to resolve this, I would still be able to view it under resolved. You can also view it under the device. It just fires as a normal alert in level. So
Sweet.
awesome.
All right. Any other questions?
We're waiting for those questions. We can open those questions up to anything, even outside of event log monitors. So whatever is helpful for you guys, we're happy to answer. Um, Casey asks, would an example of a firewall change be a good example? A firewall change be a good example, like making a firewall change in automations, then it triggers the monitoring in the monitor. So you could make so you would have like a schedule and you're going to run devices through on a set schedule to set firewall rules or ensure they're in a certain state. Um, or you're going to monitor to see if the firewall rules don't match the expected state and then trigger an automation to put it in that desired state. Those are the 2 paths that I see for that.
I think the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is if we're making a change via an automation, and we have a monitor set up to monitor event logs, and the change is being made and is authorized through level, will it still trigger the monitor? And the answer is yes. I mean, we're monitoring the event logs on the device. So whether that event was you doing it, through your own work or somebody else doing it, we're going to detect that event ID and trigger on it.
Right.
Solution for that would just be putting it in maintenance mode for if you're doing any automations like that, correct?
Yeah, you could do that as part of the automation. You could have a step that puts the device into maintenance mode and then removes it from maintenance mode immediately after.
Not off topic at all. Uh,
Yeah,
Sure.
someone was
So
asking about maintenance mode. Go ahead and explain it.
yeah, so when a device is in maintenance mode, which you can put in, like I just saw here or showed you here with an automation, you can also put a device into maintenance mode just by running actions and enable or disable maintenance mode. When a device is in maintenance mode, we won't fire any alerts for the device or run any automation, like any remediation automation. So all of the monitors here are essentially suppressed when the device is in maintenance mode. And if these monitors are configured to run remediations, like cleaning up disk space or notifying the user to restart, those remediations aren't going to happen as long as the device is in maintenance mode. So we use this, for example, within Level. When we go to update or manage our servers, lots of times we're stopping a service. Well, we have monitors in Level configured to keep the service running. So if we stop the service and Level's starting it, then we're kind of interfering with that. So that's what maintenance mode. We put them into maintenance mode, and then we know that Level is not going to try to fix things that we're purposely stopping. Does that make sense? Cool. Alex says, is it possible to resolve an alert generated by a monitor or an automation in an automation? Not yet. That's a really solid point, and we should probably add a resolve alert um, action. So I'll take that. Quentin, if you can just make a note and let's do a feature request for that. I like that a lot. Great question, Terry. Yes, I believe so. His question is on the software install monitor with the event log, would it also trigger on automated processes doing that, like WinGit? And is there a way to filter that to just user initiated? Great question. It would definitely trigger for everything, any software that's installed on the device, even if that's WinGit or Level. There there would be a way around that, but you would have to do a script-based monitor. But with a script-based monitor, you could do further refinement on it to just lock it down to user-initiated behaviors. So support could help you write that if you reached out. So what else? Any other questions? Jason, anything you want to add as we're kind of waiting for some questions to come in?
No, I think we're going to add some of these monitors up on the library if they're not already some there, and so we'll be doing some of the most common ones, and we'll have some bundles that'll be packaged together, probably one for like domain controllers and things like that you would want to monitor on those devices. But getting your feedback or input, it would be helpful as well. So like what sort of devices would you want to monitor, and what sort of things do you want monitored? If you have input there, let us know. We're happy to write these and get them up on the library so that others can benefit. You can easily get your monitors implemented from Level.
Yeah, great point. One of the support tickets that we've gotten recently was somebody using the event log monitor to monitor for when backups weren't happening with their backup solution. So another solid use case, they were using Veeam, but again, this applies to any backup solution. Likely they're going to be firing some type of event log entry, so you can monitor for that to detect if a backup hasn't happened when you expected, or if the backup had errors. Um, Casey asked, do you have something like Sysmon to help with getting more information to level? Jason, do you know what Sysmon is?
Yeah, would having something like Sysmon help with getting more information to load? I mean, you might want to, if you don't mind, Casey, clarify a little bit more about what you're asking or recommending here. That might be helpful. But yeah, Sysmon is just more in detail built-in monitoring within Windows, where we can monitor really anything in the system, disk and I/O, and NIC, and other things like that. So, for this purposes, for this monitor, it's strictly looking at event logs and event log IDs. Um, so, uh, more real-time monitoring, like what Sysmon is doing, would be probably a future endeavor for us.
Awesome. Any other questions about anything level, roadmap, future, anything like that?
Terry got a question. Terry says, is there a way to monitor on increasing frequency? For example, let's consider the BSOD monitor or maybe a disk error monitor. Knowing this happens is good, but if the alert can be configured to trigger when the errors go from once a month to once a day, or maybe once a day to once an hour, it would be useful as it could indicate the problem becoming imminent.
It's a great question. So I'm pretty sure right now the most you can do for the event logs is the last 24 hours. So we could say like if a BSOD has happened 3 times in the last 24 hours, but we don't let it go across days yet. And I'm not sure that that was a technical limitation or if it was just a design decision, but that's a solid use case. So I'll make sure that we make a note of that and bring it up with the team and see if we can maybe add something like that. So basically, if you had 5 or 10 BSODs within a week or 10 disk IO issues within a week, that would be when you would want the alert instead of, just when it happened once. Does that sound right, Terry?
Yeah, I think he's also asking if, like, setting a baseline of what's normal,
Right.
and then when it's an anomaly, then alert on it. So that's a good use case for, and we're really kind of investigating how AI can help us within Level and future releases, and that might be a good use case there. There's probably other ways we could look at that, and so, yep, good
I like that.
input and feedback.
Clinton, can you just make a little note of that as well, please? All right. I think that's it for today, unless there's some last minute questions. I appreciate everyone sticking with us for this. And if you haven't tried out event log monitoring yet, go ahead and add some monitors to a policy and test it out with some of the examples that we showed here. As always, this webinar will be on our YouTube later today, so you can reference back to that anytime. If you have any feedback or ideas or suggestions for future webinars, please drop them in the chat or email us directly. We're building level for you guys, so we really do want your feedback on what's helpful and useful to you. Um, Thanks again, guys. I really do appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, reach out to support anytime. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yes. Dark mode.
Always dark mode. Love it. Coming very soon, guys. Very soon.